'Tis time for the Texas Renaissance Festival. Over 400 artisans and craftspeople await you in our beautifully recreated 16th century village. Enjoy a worldwide menu featuring savory dishes, tasty sweets, and a variety of drinks. Revel in the finest musicians, entertainers, and nightly fireworks. And you can stay the weekend with our Stay and Play Pass. Open weekends and Thanksgiving Friday from October 11th through November 30th. Get tickets and more at texrenfest.com. Family merriment awaits. Huzzah! The City of Austin has a new logo, the Austin A, in a color palette designed to feel like a warm invitation to celebrate the city we love. In a couple of weeks, you're going to see this A everywhere. But lots of Austinites who've already seen it aren't all that impressed. So today on CityCast Austin, we're going to get the story behind the new $1.1 million logo. It's Monday, September 15th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here with Jessica King, Chief Communications Director, and Yasmin Wagner, Web and Creative Services Manager of the City of Austin. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Yasmin. How are you?
Hello.
Good morning, Nikki.
Good morning. So I'm super excited I get to talk to you guys because I have been seeing the new City of Austin logo all over the internet. So listeners, on October 1st, Austin's new logo will be rolled out on all social media platforms, as well as the website and other digital spaces. In case there's someone listening who has not seen this logo yet, can either of you tell me what it looks like?
Big picture is that the logo from a visual perspective is a reflection of our community in terms of the green nature, the rolling hills, and the beautiful creeks and streams and rivers that we have here. But I'll lean on Yasmin to share a little bit more detail on what it looks like.
So, and thanks for the question. It's nice to be able to describe it. So we actually spent a long time really thinking about what is it that represents our city as a whole, because we have so many different lived experiences in this city, and different parts of the town represent different things for different people. And so trying to find something that was a connector for all of us was critically important to us. And so the rolling lines is something that we see are those points of connection that we have with each other in the city. That was something that was very resonant to us in it. And the other piece of it too is, as Jessica mentioned, we all share these beautiful green spaces and these amenities that we all share, and they're places for us to gather, enjoy our city. And those are things that we see as a common thread throughout.
As someone that used to work for the city, I understand that things take time. I don't think it's as simple as like asking your homegirl to do something for you on Canva. So can you just explain like the red tape and sometimes the bureaucratic nature of city government, right? Like it takes a long time to do things. Not everybody understands that. Can you guys give us a little bit of an idea of just like how that works?
This all started with outreach and engagement was our first and primary starting point for this. We didn't actually start creating and looking at designs for the logo until we were through a pretty deep engagement process that consisted of everything from, surveying Austinites across every single part of town, also talking to our employees and making sure that we were clear on what they wanted and needed in a logo, and also not just a logo, but an entire brand for the city. We talked to our quality of life commissions just to make sure we were really doubling down and making sure that we were hearing from the voices that aren't usually at the table as much as we need them to be. So it was a very deep process that we went through engagement. And part of that was to understand not just what a pretty picture of a logo could look like, but aspirationally, where do the people that all own part of this city, what do they aspire to see this city represent itself as? How do they want to connect with the city of Austin as a government organization? So those were the questions that we were really driving at and trying to understand as well. And all of that informed the entire brand. So that informs our tone and voice. Are we more formal? Are we more official? Are we more casual and approachable? Understanding what those pieces are. And then also understanding like how the brand expresses itself in everything that we do. Once we were through that, we moved into a brand strategy. And that started with setting a brand mission to have real clarity and North Star around all of the materials and everything that we were creating. And then from there, that started to move into our verbal identity, where we started to talk about how do we speak? How do we connect in both our written and spoken word? How do we standardize things across the city so that it's easy to understand things more readily as you're going on our website or other communications materials? And once we were through all of that, then we started working on the logo. We had several different pressure test departments within our city to make sure that we were meeting our operational needs because we've got a really broad scale of operational needs across the city. This logo has to function in everything from, our gorgeous parks to our health programs to our, libraries to our cemeteries. And so when you think about something that can straddle the needs of a children's program and a cemetery, it's a pretty broad range of asks. And we also, once we had those iterations of the logo along the way, we had community groups. We had 19 different community organizations that provide direct service across the city that we worked with to make sure that we've got real clear input from them. And then also employee groups as well, because many of our employees have very different lived experiences and also not only different roles in the organization, but many of them are Austinites too. And so understanding that for them as well. And then once we started getting further along the process, we did survey, we did focus groups, and we did some qualitative and quantitative research as well to make sure that we were hitting the right points. And those points were everything from not just the logo itself, but the colors to find out what colors were the most resonant, and then eventually arriving at the mark that we did.
Now, you unveiled earlier this month, and then there's just criticism, right? Like the blue line represents home prices. The Y in the middle represents why we sit in traffic or where we sit in traffic. And somebody said it reads like a Portlandia skit, right? We're supposed to vote on taxes because there's no money for important things. And then the city spends millions on a new logo and a rebrand. Were you expecting this much like pushback? Because I feel like if it was me, I would be like, we already talked to y'all. Y'all knew this was happening. But maybe it's not that simple. So like, were y'all expecting this kind of pushback?
Yes. In this day and age with social media, absolutely. The irony is that in all of the research that we've done over the years, one of the key things that sticks out when we talk about the feedback we've received from the community is that Austinites speak up or comment or share their feelings because they care. And
Right.
so social media is a space where people can freely do that in whatever way they choose. But we know that they care and we understand that and we hear that. The challenge often is really understanding the background. You're going to have an immediate reaction. That is natural for people to have an immediate reaction. But I think once the brand is able to actually be implemented across the organization, when people start to see it and are able to connect with it, it will resonate and it won't be as much of the, ugh, I don't like it. Everybody has a reaction to art or images, right?
Yep.
It's everybody has different perspectives, and that's okay. That's fine. I think the challenge is making sure people understand when you see that mark, you know that those are city employees. That is a true City of Austin program, and there's a certain you can be sure that that is part of the city as an organization.
And as you're talking about putting it on everything, it has to literally go on everything, right? And so when you're talking about the city as a brand, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. You're saying like, what do we want people to know about our city when they see this logo? Like what's our brand? We've been using that kind of Texas-y looking seal up until now, right? Which always has seemed pretty formal to me. And I think it's because I'm like, oh, well, it's the government. So yeah, it needs to kind of look like official. But this logo stands out to me as something that it doesn't look like Texas. Like our old, I don't know why I keep saying it like that, but like our old logo was very like Texas. Like this is very official, right?
let's provide a little context. So even as an individual, what is your brand? How do you communicate about what you want to do and what you want to convey as a person?
Yeah.
So apply that to an organization with, 40 some odd departments, and Austinites connect with us in so many different ways. And over the years, they've seen this growth of 300 different brands, maybe more, that have been spread across the organization. And so you've got this expansive, just very fragmented, separated, and to a degree siloed spacing of all the different programs and services we provide. When we say, what is Austin's brand as a city, as a city organization, as a government entity, as the organization that provides services to our community, as a local government, what is our brand? And so that is why I struggle when we say, oh, we're going from the city seal. We're not going from the city seal. We're going from 300 brands to this one unified
Oh.
brand.
So all the departments have their own logo right now.
Many of them do,
like their
yes.
own brand.
And
Okay.
not all of them and not all of them have the city seal in them. So you can't tell if it's a City of Austin service or program. And so, when we talk about our brand, every department is acknowledging by acceptance of the brand that they are part of the city as an organization. They are one with the City of Austin as an organization.
And so we're not getting rid of the city seal.
No, the city seal is still
present. Because the seal is different.
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Okay. I was thinking of the city seal as a logo. It is the seal. Okay.
And that's what's happened over the years, right?
That context. Yeah, that context makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was looking up how a lot of cities have been evolving, actually. Across the nation, we have a lot of cities that have their official city seal, and then they have an actual brand or logo for their organization.
That makes sense. We're going to backtrack a little bit. Go back to the beginning. 1916, a San Francisco illustrator drew a design for a contest for the city seal, won $50. And then 2018, Austin City Council voted to make developing a cohesive brand for the city a priority. But I don't think that a lot of people understand that. They don't understand that, like, making something a priority doesn't mean that tomorrow people are going to go to a table and start drawing out sketches. Why does it take that long?
Why does it take that long? Because there are other priorities that crop up. So 2018 is certainly when council authorized this project. But let's not forget this space called COVID, Uri, storm after storm after storm, where our priorities shift during that immediate moment in time, right? And it's not that the work didn't stop altogether, but we shift our priorities to respond to the urgent needs. And that is what we did. I can share, and full well, we're standing up a joint information system made up of multitudes of city employees working overnight shifts, 24-hour shifts, to ensure that the communications is going out and that we're operating at full capacity. So that leaves little time to focus on the branding initiative. And at the same time, we know how important it is, right? So as the years go by, and we're able to start to reshift, and things I don't ever want to say that the city normalizes. There is no such thing as normal anymore. Like, I feel like once COVID hit, normal is...
Yeah, there is no normal.
Yes, there is no normal. So we adjust accordingly, and we're able to allocate staff to start looking at certain things and start working on elements. And we progressively add and build on the project, knowing full well that in the long run, this will save us from a variety of inefficiencies that occur by maintaining 300 plus brands, right? So if you're constantly focused on, oh my gosh, I've got 350 plus brands that I got to keep alive and working, and now you can shift to focus on one. We knew that was the long-term goal. We knew that because we knew we needed to be more efficient and effective with our dollars. And so I'll just call the question. The point that we thought through was that this is our long-term goal, is to become even more efficient and effective, and recognize that every single day, which we do, our tax dollars go to keep the city running, and we want to respect those tax dollars. And so it feels like a major investment up front, but we've spread that cost over time to minimize the impact on the budget. It's I know it's a large amount, like $1 million, I get that. But at the same time, the intent is to improve and become more efficient and effective.
Step into the conversation shaping Texas's future at the Texas Tribune Festival. The Texas Tribune is bringing together inspiring thinkers, leaders, and innovators to discuss the issues that matter to you. Dive into unforgettable conversations spanning education, the economy, healthcare, energy, technology, public safety, culture, the arts, and more. TribFest gives you an up-close look at how big ideas take shape and how they affect your life. You'll connect with fellow Texans, engage directly with experts and leaders, and leave inspired to turn your boldest ideas into reality. And y'all, this isn't just another political event. It's a catalyst for shaping the future of Texas today. So mark your calendar, November 13th through 15th in downtown Austin. Get info and tickets at tribfest.org. Imagine this, your next podcast recorded in the same studio where you're hearing this right now. That's Trick Hat Workway. Trick Hat is Austin's most hospitality-driven co-working space. And yes, they've got a pro-level podcast studio designed for creators, teams, and businesses who want high-quality recordings without the stress of hunting down space or gear. Just show up, plug in, and hit record. Outside the studio, Trick Hat's got you covered. From private offices to dedicated desks, they offer flexible co-working options to fit any business or entrepreneur's needs. And can we talk about the perks? Freshly brewed coffee from Manana, endless snacks, and crispy Diet Cokes. But what really makes Trick Hat different is the energy. From weekly networking opportunities to community trick chats, it's more than a place to work. It's where Austin comes to connect, create, and have fun doing it. Whether you're producing your next big idea or just need a space that feels good to work in, Trick Hat Workway is waiting for you, where it's always old Austin, new tricks. Visit trickhatworkway.com to learn more today. So I want to make sure I'm understanding that what you're saying, like the $1.1 million price tag everybody is in their feelings about it.
Mhm.
But what I'm hearing from you is that it takes a long time. You want to be efficient. You want to get it right.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, I go back to what Yasmin shared earlier, right? Community engagement with our staff, employees. One thing just to keep in mind, we had changes in leadership. And so not to blame that, but to be really clear that we want to make sure leadership is still in agreement as we move forward. And so those were check-in points where we were making sure that, are we still on this path? This is where we're going. Here's the purpose. Here's the intent. And just doing the check-ins to make sure that we're on the right track.
$1.1 million is $1.1 million going to one person to sit down and
No.
write out a logo?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I feel like the overall sense is that y'all handed $1 million to one person. They were like, cool, got it. And then went on Canva and created something. And I'm just trying to get people to understand that it's not, we're talking about replacing the replacement of things.
Yeah. So actually we give a cost breakdown on everything, but let me start by saying we had two amazing local design firms supporting us in this effort. They live here. This is part of they are part of the community. They live and breathe this. They are experts in this field and also incredibly dedicated and committed to this community. And so in doing that, we were intent on making sure that we had an Austin voice behind the design, right? So that was the first part. The design firm Pentagram Austin, they received about $200,000 for the design. And when I talk about that, I'll lean on Yasmin to go into greater detail about design, because to me, I'm like everybody else. I'm like, it's a logo, right? She's like, no, it's a brand system. And then when they explain the brand system, I'm like, okay. So.
Well, and listen, this is not me taking up for the city of Austin. This is just me as a creative. I don't know how easy it is for everybody to just come up with something out of their brain, it is not easy for me. It it is. It takes me days and days to
Yeah.
make like a flyer for a show. So that is its own like talent. That is its own skill.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear about that.
And when
Graphic design is a thing.
absolutely, and when you also have to design by committee, meaning
Yeah.
that it's so many different people
Everybody
at the
gets a say.
table, everybody gets a say, everybody gets a feeling. That is hard work. And I think after this whole process, I have that much more great respect for our creative community. Because I look back and I'm like, I had no idea. Like it's amazing to me. But I'll lean on
Yeah.
Yasmin to kind of explain when we talk about a brand system, what that really means. So what did our costs really go towards? It wasn't just a logo. It was more than that.
Well, the logo is the most visible thing and kind of the marquee piece of all of it. It's just one element in how the city visually expresses itself. And so when Pentagram put together this brand system for us, the logo was the first piece, but then we very quickly started to think about, what's our color palette so that we have unifying color throughout everything. Thinking about a font system and not just picking a font, but thinking about how we apply it in sort of typographic styling across everything and in a way that can be consistently used across all different types of elements. So a lot of trial and error and plugging it into different places to make sure it's going to work just as well on the door of a vehicle as it's going to work on a sign, as it's going to work on an ad, as it's going to work on a flyer. So thinking about all those different applications and then also thinking about like, how does that come to life on that flyer? What are the different graphic elements that we use that can start to weave consistency through the myriad of different applications it's going to live on. So that includes different kinds of, patterns and graphics and ways of putting those things together. And then all of that comes together in a comprehensive guidelines, which is essentially a guidebook to how to apply all those different standards. And there's a lot of consideration that goes into the proper use of the logo. How does the logo work for a department? How do we apply that department name across 45 different department names? So there's a lot of standardizing and thinking about how that whole system comes together. And that's a lot of work. It's a big lift to do that, especially for an organization of this size and complexity.
Now, will the different logo designs for the other departments, will they go away now? Are they done with, or what will happen to those?
Yeah, and so that logo that you're looking at now that everybody's been seeing is our parent logo. It's the stacked version of our parent logo. And within the parent logo, it's part of a logo family. And so we have a treatment for every department to have their department name added to the logo. But a lot of times you may just see the Austin logo, because I think culturally we're getting to a point too that if we want to make sure that folks see the city of Austin providing services, so they don't have to stop and think about, am I going to department X or department Y to get that thing? Because if somebody
Yeah.
comes and connects with you about a service, you want to know that it's the city of Austin, the entity that you have a relationship with and you trust, rather than trying to parse through and figure out, wait, how is this a department of the city? Is this a nonprofit? Who is this talking to me?
Yeah, like immediate recognition.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, not for nothing. It's kind of awesome that so many people are talking about it, because it almost is already, I'm not going to say it's paid for itself, but it's doing the thing that it's kind of intended to do, because now nobody will forget the logo. So whether it was accidental or not, like, now people will see it and be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. Like, which is what it's supposed to do. Since you don't have to do all of these individual things, I imagine that this is going to save the city some money too in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's when we've got all these brands, we end up having to take care of them, right? And feed them and keep them going.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
when you remove the need to keep all those brands alive and working, then you can refocus your energies and start to tighten and start to make sure, okay, you're saving time. You are saving money in reducing duplication of effort, duplication of costs, right? So yes, we do see cost savings in the future, certainly. And again, one of the other reasons why we knew that this needed to happen, the most important, certainly, Austinites recognizing the city, but also recognizing we got to do things differently. Money doesn't money's not coming, falling off of trees. And
Yeah.
we know that, and we respect that. And so how can we do a better job with the money that is available to us? And it is taxpayer dollars. We respect those taxpayer dollars, and we want to do the best that we can with them.
So, we've been having this 300 department baby that we've been feeding. I know it's impossible for you to answer this question, but like nobody's going to lose their jobs, right? So because they're not, feeding these babies. Okay. All right. Everybody, they're shaking their heads for you.
Now, the intent again is we are becoming more efficient. And one of the efficiencies is through templates and creating some standardized templates across the organization that our staff can go straight into and plug and play rather than, okay, let's start from scratch and start from new. So there will be opportunity for flexibility and evolution of the templates, but there's consistency across those templates. And so you're doing things faster, more efficiently. So you focus your energies more on the other more complex issues, right? If it's a website challenge or there's other stuff that takes your time and energy, then you can refocus that energy rather than starting from scratch and trying to do something that is really creative, but you've got the brand that you can build off of to build that.
Right. Yeah, and I think another thing to remember is that when you work for any government agency, I worked for the state before I worked for the city. You are wearing many hats.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing. Your hands are in lots of
Yes.
pots. It's the nature of the business.
Yes.
So we're doing the $1.1 million this year. This is coming out of our budget this
Already
year.
done, actually over 2 years.
Already over 2 years.
Yes.
Okay, done.
Yes, done.
Even better. Okay, that's even better because I think that because we were in a deficit, people were like, we're in a deficit.
Yeah.
Why are you taking? But the money is
Done.
gone. It's
The money
you're
is-
back 2 years ago. Okay. Former city council member Mackenzie Kelly has started an online petition to stop the rebrand. I'm putting that in quotations. And it's gotten like 4,000 signatures.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Kelly, a former Austin City Council member and a lifelong Austinite.
Here's what Mackenzie Kelly had to say about her vote in a recent post on social media.
Back in May of 2024, when I was elected, I voted to approve the negotiation and execution of a contract related to the city's rebrand. But that vote was not on this specific logo. Those are two entirely separate things. The amount approved back then was very different, and at no point was this logo ever presented before the council for a vote. And even so, that doesn't change the fact that this logo is absolutely awful, and Austinites deserve to have a meaningful voice before the city spends millions more of taxpayer dollars rolling it out.
Can this actually be stopped at this point, especially if it's already paid? If it's already paid for 2 years, like, can this actually be stopped at this point?
So I'm not going to answer the question of whether or not it can or can't be stopped. But what I am going to answer is that I think it's based off of a lot of misinformation. So even in this conversation, you're like, oh, money's already spent. I think that there might be a misinterpretation that the money is to be spent. I think that there's a lot of misinterpretation and misunderstanding that is the foundation of that petition. And so I guess I wish I would have been able to talk to the former council member to really explain. I remember when we briefed all the council offices, including Councilmember Kelly, who at the time voted as part of a unanimous block in support of hiring the agencies to proceed. We talked about the reasoning behind this and how this would work. And so the brand is a reflection of our operations, and that is an operational decision. So it is born and managed by the city management. And that is, of course, in line with feedback from our council that we had secured over the multitude of years that we were working on this. And certainly within the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years of having conversations around this. So it is moving forward, and it was an investment we already made and spent, but this is Austin. And what I always remind myself of as a person who lives here, I've lived here for more than 20 years now, and I've worked with this organization more than 20 years. Our goal is to listen to our community. And we understand they're not going to be happy about everything that we do. That is the nature of government, right? We're here to provide the service. Yep. We're here to listen, and we will do our absolute best to achieve and address their concerns. And so we'll move forward. And there are tons of people in this community. So I understand if there is interest in signing that petition. We appreciate that. We appreciate the feedback. We keep moving forward.
Well, I'm just really appreciative that you guys came on and explained it, because when I've been looking at it and hearing things about it, the first thing in my brain was just like I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. It just makes a little more sense to me now. And no, there's just been a lot of chit chat around it. But thank you for coming here. Thank you for taking the time. I will be on the lookout for new logo merch. I will probably buy it because that's who I am as a person.
We appreciate that. It will roll out over time. Keep that in mind.
It'll roll out over time. Okay. Yasmeen, Jessica, thank you again. Until next time, I appreciate you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Nikki.
Nikki.
We appreciate it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to the city's logo in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, show them the logo, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. And if you really, really, really love CityCast Austin, help support us by becoming a neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.